Today, we're diving into a wild courtroom moment that shows exactly why some sovereign citizen arguments don't work in real life. A woman appeared in court after being pulled over for running a red light and resisting arrest. From the very start, she tried to defend herself using unusual legal claims, insisting she was the executive executrix of the estate and that traffic laws didn't apply to her, especially since there was no other traffic on the road. She even argued that she didn't have to identify herself and suggested that the police had touched her inappropriately during the stop. The officer who pulled her over testified that she admitted running the red light because she urgently needed to use the restroom, but when he tried to escort her back to her vehicle, she resisted. Despite her elaborate claims, the judge made it very clear that sovereign citizen theories and trust law arguments have no place in court. The judge dismissed her defenses entirely, held her responsible for the traffic violation, and issued a $165 fine. Commentators watching this case point out how dangerous it can be when people refuse to follow traffic laws based on made-up legal theories. It's a fascinating, if frustrating, example of someone trying to bend the law to their will, but ultimately, reality wins in the courtroom. Whether you're interested in law, viral courtroom drama, or just wild legal arguments, this case shows how far some people will go to avoid responsibility, and why the system rarely bends for these claims.
Hello?
Ms. Bay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can hear you too. All right, this is 240P01688. This is the People versus Lita Bay. Officer Milosh, would you please state your name?
Yes, ma'am. First name Nathan, Nathan. Last Milosh, Mloche.
And Ms. Bay, would you please state your name?
I'm the executrix of the estate for Lita Bay.
All right, so we're here today for, looks like a ticket that was issued back on July 14th of 2024. All right, Officer Milosh, it's the government's burden, so you'll go first. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
All right, so what can you tell me about the ticket that was issued on July 14th, 2024 to Lita Bay at Coolidge and Pearson in the city of Oak Park?
Yes, ma'am. The citation was issued due to Miss Bay disobeying the red light at actually Coolidge and North End. Once we got through that intersection, Miss Bay did come to a stop at Coolidge and Pearson, and then once that light cycled through, I initiated a traffic stop just north of Pearson, just south of Albany on Coolidge there at about approximately 10:45 p.m. At that time, I went up to speak to Miss Bay. Initially, she refused. She did provide a license and eventually started speaking with me. Returned to my patrol vehicle, at which time she exited her vehicle, went to the rear of her vehicle, opened up her trunk. Went up to speak with her and escort her back to her seat in her car, at which point she started resisting. So my fellow officer and I took her to the front of my car, spoke with her, initially handcuffed for officer safety. We released her without charging her for the misdemeanor for resisting and obstructing, and we just went with the disobey red light. And actually at minute 158 of my body cam, Miss Bay does admit to the infraction of disobeying the red light, stating she had to use the bathroom.
When you say resisting, what do you mean?
So initially we went up to her, asked her to step away from the trunk. Obviously we didn't know what was in there. She then began to retreat from officers. We then grabbed her arm to help escort her to her vehicle, at which point she tensed up, pulled away, and started screaming at us.
What do you mean by screaming? What did she say?
Am I able to reference my report I have here?
You may.
Thank you. See, initially she said, her finger things. She was nervous because the gun's near. Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yep.
All I have here is that she kept screaming, "Help me." Initially, when she was in her vehicle, she stated she didn't want to speak with us and that we were forcing her to say things against her will, and that she was nervous because we had our sidearms and we were near her children. Once she was resisting, all I have noted here is that she kept screaming, "Help me." And that's all I've got in terms of that. I don't have access to my body camera footage at this time.
Why is that?
This is virtual court, so I don't have access to evidence.com. I don't have a work computer, so I didn't know if it was appropriate to access mobilely.
All right. And Miss Bay?
I'm the executrix for the hi, I'm the executrix for the trust for
Say raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
All right. What can you tell me about the ticket that was issued to you?
Your Honor, I actually put in paperwork and asked for discovery, and I was advised that I shouldn't testify until I get my discovery packet.
So this isn't a criminal case. It's a civil infraction. You were free to order under the Freedom of Information Act any information regarding this case prior to the hearing. So it's not like a criminal case. It's a different standard. It's just a preponderance. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. But you most certainly would have had access to that if you just FOIA'd the report or the body cam in this case. But we are having the hearing today, and you're free to give me your side of the story if you so choose.
On the day in question, I went through a red light. I had to use the bathroom, like really desperately. I had three teenagers in a car with me. And when the officers approached my vehicle, touching their sidearms, my daughter had the identification, and I explained to them that this was a trust situation. And they didn't care. She was terrified, and she ended up taking out my ID because she did not want us to get killed or beat up or anything. Because things have happened to family members. I didn't want to get tased. She didn't want us to get tased or beaten or killed. So she ended up taking out my ID because I did not have to identify. It was not a situation for identifying, but we were forced to because of the guns and stuff. And my children were terrified. My son's girlfriend was in the car. He was terrified. I told him it was a trust situation, and I told him I had to use the restroom, and because he said something about me going through the red light, which there was no traffic. The traffic light is to direct, really trying to get to the destination because I have a medical condition that's life-threatening right now. So I explained it was a trust, and they went to the car, and I got out to get tissue out my car, which I have a receipt and a picture that I did have tissue in my car. I was going to use the bathroom on the side of a house or wherever because I was not going to expose myself to waste matter with my blood condition. They came up to me and I was like, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" They all rushed towards me. They all grabbed me. Then all of a sudden, somebody had their hands between my legs, brisket touching me, my breasts, searching me. They pushed me up against the car. They put cuffs on me in front of my children. I was screaming for help. They went up to the car and they were taunting my son in front of his girlfriend and his little sister who looks up to him. Like, I said, I just had to use the bathroom. I asked them nicely. I said, "Can you please just sit me on the ground? I do not want to waste inside of your car." I wasted myself in my car once I got in my car after they put me in the back of the car. So that's what happened on that day. And I asked the officers, "How would you want your mother handled?" I'm an older woman. And he did this in front of my children. I went to the temple earlier that day, in the Hindu temple, and did sacred rituals. Wasn't nobody supposed to be touching me. And somebody just came up to me and was touching between my legs and my breast. And I don't know where they came from, and they were all surrounding me.
Anything else you want to say, Miss Bay?
I was screaming for help because I was terrified for my life. and was not guilty of anything, but needing to use the bathroom and not wanting to soil myself. I just wanted to get to my destination, which was off of Oneida and 9 Mile, which literally 2 minutes away. I did not make it.
All right, the court has heard the testimony from Officer Maloche and from Ms. Bay in this case. The standard is a preponderance of evidence. Mr. Maloche testified that he saw Ms. Bay run the red light at Coolidge and North End. Ms. Bay acknowledged running the red light in question in this case. The people's burden is satisfied beyond a preponderance of the evidence in this case. I'm finding Ms. Bay responsible for running a red light. The fine is going to be $165. You'll have till October 1st to pay it. I will send that to the Novara address where we sent the other notices, so you'll get the paperwork in the mail. You're all set.
Excuse me, Your Honor. So what I'm asking you is, I have a question. You're telling me, is the court telling me that trust situations are not seen as trust, because this is a trust matter? This is not
All right,
what
so
you
Ms.
think
Bay,
it is.
there's no trust situation recognized by the court. You are responsible. Make sure you pay the fine back.
Courtroom cases involving so-called sovereign citizens always capture attention, and this particular hearing is a striking example of just how unusual and complicated these encounters can become. In this case, a woman appeared in court facing charges for running a red light and resisting arrest. From the very beginning, she presented herself not just as an ordinary citizen, but as someone claiming unique legal authority. She identified herself as the executive executrix of the estate for Lita Bay, immediately signaling that her defense would be rooted in unconventional legal theories. She insisted that traffic laws did not apply to her, particularly in situations where there was no other traffic present, and that she was not obligated to provide identification to law enforcement. These claims, while elaborate and confidently presented, set the stage for a courtroom clash between traditional law and highly unusual interpretations of legal rights. The arrest that led to this hearing was straightforward from the law enforcement perspective. An officer testified that he observed the woman running a red light, a clear traffic violation, and approached her vehicle to enforce the law. During the encounter, she admitted that she had run the red light because she urgently needed to use the restroom, but this admission did not change the fact that she violated traffic regulations. When the officer attempted to escort her back to her vehicle to resolve the matter, she resisted, escalating what had been a minor traffic stop into a more serious incident. The officer's testimony emphasized that compliance with traffic laws and law enforcement instructions is mandatory, and resistance, regardless of claimed circumstances, can lead to additional legal consequences. Throughout the hearing, the woman presented her arguments with a sense of certainty that might be persuasive to someone unfamiliar with legal procedures. She invoked concepts from trust law, claiming that her status as an executive executrix granted her immunity from standard laws. She argued that because she controlled a personal estate, the obligations that normally apply to drivers, such as obeying traffic signals and providing identification, did not apply to her. She also alleged inappropriate conduct by the officer during her arrest, suggesting that her rights had been violated. These claims added complexity and drama to the courtroom proceedings, illustrating a common pattern in sovereign citizen cases: the combination of esoteric legal arguments with allegations against law enforcement. Despite the elaborate nature of her defense, the judge remained composed and methodical. Sovereign citizen arguments, no matter how convincingly presented by the defendant, are consistently rejected by courts because they are not grounded in recognized law. The judge allowed her to explain her reasoning fully but made it clear that these claims had no bearing on the case. The ruling emphasized that all individuals are subject to the law, and personal interpretations, trust law references, or self-assumed titles cannot override legal obligations such as traffic compliance. Ultimately, the woman was held responsible for running the red light and resisting the officer, and a fine of $165 was issued to reinforce accountability. This case serves as a vivid example of why sovereign citizen defenses are ineffective in court. While the arguments may sound sophisticated, they are often based on misinterpretations or outright fabrications of law. The court must navigate these situations carefully, allowing the defendant to voice their claims while maintaining the integrity of legal procedures. For viewer, this offers a rare glimpse into the intersection of personal belief and public law, demonstrating how confidence in one's own legal theories does not equate to legal protection. The implications of this case extend beyond the courtroom. Sovereign citizen claims, especially when applied to traffic laws and encounters with law enforcement, can pose significant risks, not only to the individuals making these claims but also to public safety. Refusing to comply with traffic signals, resisting lawful detainment, or attempting to assert immunity through unrecognized legal doctrines can result in fines, additional charges, or even criminal liability. This makes the issue not just a matter of courtroom drama, but also a matter of societal concern. From a behavioral perspective, the woman's actions illustrate a deep-seated belief in personal exemption from rules. These beliefs often arise from misunderstandings of legal concepts, selective interpretations of historical documents, or a desire to assert autonomy against perceived authority. Courtroom hearings like this expose the tension between these beliefs and the structure of enforceable law, showing how strongly individuals may cling to ideas that ultimately have no legal foundation. Observing these cases provides insight into human psychology, highlighting how people rationalize behavior that contradicts established norms. The officer's testimony also plays a critical role in understanding the case. By detailing the sequence of events, the testimony establishes a clear timeline of compliance, violation, and resistance. The fact that the defendant admitted to running the red light due to an urgent personal need adds nuance to the story, showing that real-world circumstances often intersect with legal obligations in ways that complicate simplistic narratives. However, the legal system treats violations independently of personal reasoning when public safety is at stake. The judge's decision reinforces that even pressing personal circumstances cannot nullify obligations under the law. Throughout the hearing, the courtroom environment illustrates how the judicial system handles unconventional defenses. Judges must remain impartial and allow the defendant to explain their position while simultaneously ensuring that proceedings adhere to legal standards. In this case, the judge maintained patience, listening to the defendant's claims without interruption, yet ultimately dismissed each argument based on established legal precedent. This balance of fairness and adherence to law exemplifies the judicial process at its core, where arguments are assessed on validity rather than creativity. Commentators observing this case frequently note the dramatic tension created by sovereign citizen defenses. The combination of elaborate self-representation, unusual legal claims, and courtroom decorum creates a spectacle that is both educational and cautionary. It underscores the importance of understanding the limits of personal legal interpretation and the consequences of attempting to operate outside the recognized legal framework. These cases remind viewers that knowledge of the law is critical, but misapplied knowledge or reliance on myths can lead to predictable outcomes, fines, rulings against the defendant, and sometimes even further legal trouble. This particular hearing also serves as a broader lesson about accountability. Regardless of how sophisticated or confident an argument may sound, the law does not bend for personal belief or idiosyncratic interpretations. Traffic laws exist to maintain safety and order, and the legal system is structured to enforce compliance. Attempts to evade responsibility through unrecognized legal frameworks demonstrate the limits of creative argumentation in the face of established authority. The ruling in this case reinforces the principle that no individual is above the law, regardless of the language they use or titles they claim. From a societal perspective, cases like this highlight the intersection between individual freedom and collective responsibility. Sovereign citizen ideology often frames compliance as optional, suggesting that personal sovereignty can override societal rules. However, the courtroom consistently demonstrates that law operates on a shared set of rules, designed to protect all members of society. Refusing to acknowledge these rules can lead to legal consequences, which in turn serve as reinforcement of collective norms and public safety. The Women's Fine and Court Judgment act as both personal accountability and public example. Finally, this case provides insight into the persistence of sovereign citizen beliefs despite repeated legal rejection. Many individuals continue to assert these claims even after clear rulings, reflecting a broader cultural phenomenon where personal belief conflicts with legal authority. Observing these cases over time shows patterns in argumentation, defense strategies, and judicial responses, allowing viewer to understand both the psychology and the legal mechanics involved. It's an intersection of law, human behavior, and societal structure that continues to fascinate, frustrate, and educate. In conclusion, this courtroom hearing is more than a story about a traffic violation, it's a vivid illustration of the clash between personal belief and legal reality. The woman's attempt to use trust law and sovereign citizen arguments failed, reinforcing the principle that the law applies equally to everyone. The case serves as a cautionary tale, a lesson in accountability, and a fascinating study in how unconventional legal theories collide with established justice. For anyone interested in legal drama, human behavior, or the limits of personal sovereignty, this case offers a compelling, instructive, and unforgettable example.